Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. Here's your flash briefing for the week of June 10th. City Council will meet for regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. If you can't watch, quickly catch up on City Council meetings by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Looking for a career change? The city is currently seeking an assistant director of grants and administration, an office coordinator, and a finance director. Do any of these positions interest you? The city offers rewarding career opportunities, a positive environment, and fantastic benefits. Apply or view these opportunities at lspeople.net. Have a love for nature, specifically the pollinators of our environment, such as butterflies and bees? Come on out to the Pollinator Festival this Saturday, June 15th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Longview Community Center. Join local nonprofit organizations committed to protecting and supporting pollinators and their ecosystems with family-friendly learning and engaging activities for all ages. And mark your calendars for Legacy Blast on July 3rd from 6 to 9 p.m. at Legacy Park. Gates open at 6 p.m. and the fireworks show begins at 9:30 p.m. Tune into 94.9 KCMO during the show for music choreographed to the fireworks. Concessions, food trucks, and more will be at the sports venue surrounding Legacy Park before the show. Be sure to arrive early to join in on the fun. Learn more at lsparks.net. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour. This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Well, so for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook. Just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station. And the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better. And that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we had doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You can see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bringing your stuff back to your locker to go home after working. This is Med 3. This ambulance just currently moved into the station from Station 7. Station 3, since we've had it built, has turned into one of our busiest stations in the city. Therefore, we wanted to provide the best care and the closest unit as we could. So we moved one of our ambulances up, and this became Med 3 for this particular instance. Out of this station, we also have Pumper 3. And that's a fire apparatus that they utilize to run the calls on this west end of the city. The last vehicle that you see is the chief's vehicle. We have 2 shift chiefs on shift every day, and they split the city. And this chief running out of this station typically covers the west and south area of the city, while our chief of Station 2 covers kind of that northeast section of our city, and they divide it up evenly.
Thank you for going on a tour with us today. If you have any other questions about the Lee Summit Fire Department, please go to our webpage at lsfire.net or follow us on Facebook at Lee Summit Fire Department.
Thanks for joining us on the tour.
I am Fred DeMoro. I represent District 4. I've been on the council for 4 years, just completed 4 years. They were good 4 years, lot to do. And prior to that, I was on the Charter Review Commission. Prior to that, I spent 7 years on the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission is actually the advising body to the City Council for land issues and development issues. I've always been interested in the city, and I actually, a current council member is the one that gave me the urge to, or push to actually join the Planning Commission. And I just wanted to get more involved. I think he got tired of me asking questions all the time, so he said, let's put him to work. The one thing that we are passionate about, or I'm passionate about, is reducing the burden of property taxes on our residents, and by that we have to attract more commercial development to get those commercial property taxes, commercial sales taxes involved. And as a trickle-down theory, that actually reduces the burden on residents. It sort of move from a bedroom community to a more diverse community tax base. I am Public Works Chairman, and we actually found money for a stormwater rate study Now, what that will do is we will have a consultant come in and tell us how to actually enact or enable a stormwater rate to build a fund for being proactive on stormwater issues. We have a lot of stormwater issues in Lee Summit. We're surrounded by water. We're surrounded by lakes and river and things like that. And that is a big accomplishment. I know the Public Works chairmans before me had always tried to get that forward, and we finally did. And right now I think we've got an RFP for a consultant. And it's important to remember that we have to keep our infrastructure up, and that's just not stormwater and/or water utilities. That's curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and everything like that. I've been a resident since 1986, and when I moved in 1986, it was a small town, small city. And it is very interesting to have seen everything happen in those since 1986. And we have grown immensely. Citizen involvement is very important. I think that it makes us a better community. There are all kinds of people out there that have really great ideas that would fit well in our boards and commissions. And really, it's minimal time invested. They would be surprised of what they can do, the good they can do in a short amount of time, one meeting a month or one meeting every quarter, and really move things forward. And then, help the council with the idea of what the community is actually needing and saying, and that's always important too. Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Roll call, please.
Councilmember DeMoro,
Here.
Councilmember Lovell,
Here.
Mayor Baird,
Here. Okay. Thank
Councilmember
you.
Pryor.
Oh, I
Okay.
think she is absent. We do have a quorum. Next up is the approval of the agenda.
Chair, I
Yes.
make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lovell,
Aye.
Mayor Baird,
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro.
Aye. Thank you. That motion passes. Next up is the public comments. And I don't see anybody on, so we will move right along to the first item of business, which is the approval of the action letter for the February 12th, 2024 Legislative and Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting. Motion, please.
Yep. Chair, I make a motion
Yes,
to approve
Mayor.
the action letter.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the action letter for February 12th, 2024. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Baird,
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, the next item of business is the actual presentation of the lobbyist report. Mr. Hensley and Mr. Pollock. And before you guys get started, Brian, did you have anything to prelude to that?
Not really. I just we invited our lobbyists here today just to kind of run through the important bills of interest to the city, and also kind of give us an update on what the timing is for governor's action. I know the budget, the requirement is he has to do something with all the budget items by the end of this month. But then the other items have a different time slot. So I'll let them kind of run through the top few items that we've addressed, and then give us some ideas on timeframes when we might know whether we're going to have governor's signature.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pollock, Mr. Hensley, you have the floor.
All right, good morning, and thanks for having us. I just first want to address, I may be in my car, but I am not driving. I have parked, and the car is only running to provide air conditioning. But I am on the road today, but Zach and I are happy to be here with you. And we'll just start out with, we don't plan on running through the whole end of session report we sent. I'm sure you'll all have had a chance to read that and read the attachment that came with it, with all the truly agreed, finally passed bills. But happy to talk about the highlights and to address questions you might have, and to certainly address the points that Brian mentioned. Zach, you have any comments before we get started?
No, I just, same as John, thank you for having us. We enjoyed representing Lee Summit this session, and think it went really well this year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So over 2,500 bills and joint resolutions filed on both sides. So pretty active filing wise, but including the 19 budget bills, there were only 50 bills that were truly agreed to and finally passed by the legislature. So that's 31 non-budget bills out of those 2,500 or so. Odds were slim for getting in, for passing anything that might have been interesting to a particular party. But we think Lee Summit did pretty well this session, certainly on the highest priority items. Chiefly the landfill bill, HB 1751, Representative Hafner's bill, that you're all, I know, more familiar with the situation certainly than Zach or I will ever be, because you've lived it. But it just extended that half-mile buffer to a mile for neighboring municipality consent for landfills, and also added for solid waste processing facilities, demolition landfills, and sanitary landfills. And of course, there was another, or sort of a parallel agreement that went on among some of the other parties that paved the way a little bit for the bill, but that did not involve Lee's Summit, and the bill was passed and has already been signed by the governor. So that was a big victory for Lee's Summit this year, really winding up with a bill that was even stronger than what we were going for originally. So that's a good thing. And probably the only other, big win I'd mention was well, I don't want to count chickens yet. The other big positive at this point that I'll mention is the $1.5 million for the joint operations facility that's currently included in House Bill 20. And I say I don't want to count chickens yet because it is still sitting on the governor's desk, and he does have until June 30th to sign budget bills or to make his line item veto. So the materials that you all, that Lee Summit provided, we've provided those to the state budget director. I know Zach will maybe elaborate a little bit more, but the governor's office has them. We've been in touch with representatives of that office also. Zach, do you want to add anything to that?
I just did reached out. Yeah, Dan Hogg, state budget director, talked to him, sent him that info. He's going to keep me updated as he can. And then Tyler Hobbs, who's the legislative director for the governor's office. And I know from that information is how OA contacted the chief. Is that correct, Brian? Through their normal bill review process that they have going on.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Yeah. So as soon as we have any bit of information, we will definitely get that to you.
Yeah, for sure.
So far, so good.
Yeah. So several of those 31 non-budget TAFP bills have already been signed, like HB 1751. The rest of the policy bills, the governor has until July 14th to sign or veto. If he doesn't do anything with them by that point, they become law without a signature. So we're just keeping an eye on what's occurring over in the governor's office. And but at this point, we feel pretty good about how things turned out this session for Lee Summit, and really appreciated you all coming down to the Capitol, some of you multiple times, to work the issues with us and to talk to folks. That's always the most effective. So well done, and happy to be on the team and happy to have further conversation here.
And I really would like to thank you, Brian, Mayor, for when I made that phone call about those two projects you've got going on. I just really appreciate you guys jumping on that immediately and us doing what we could to make it happen. So it's great. Thank you.
Mayor?
You guys have been great. When we come down there, you get us in front of the people we need to. We can talk on a moment's notice. You guys are amazing. So it's been really nice to get this hands-on approach that you guys take, and just kind of seeing you guys, the way you work that building is pretty fun too. So you've changed my image of Jeff City in a good way. I'm glad we have you to help us with that. And we just, Councilmember Lovell and Councilmember DeMoro, we need to keep it up and continue this kind of, it's just taken us a little while to figure out the ropes for me with Jeff City. And it's really paid off by the fact that we have great senators and representatives. That's a huge bonus. But then when we need information, these two fellows have really worked well with staff, and and our representatives. I mean, when they say phone calls are being made, there's all kinds of phone calls going around, texts or at least. And then staff has been fantastic getting information to them. So Brian Head, yes, but also Mark Dunning and Public Works and everybody
Right.
that, you know, puts it all together on the fly. But I don't know. We've just been really fortunate the last couple of years, and I think you guys are a big part of that this last year. So thanks for all your work this year.
We really appreciate those comments, Mayor. It's been our pleasure.
John Lovell, Councilmember Lovell.
Yeah, I just want to echo what the mayor said, John and Zach. You've been a tremendous to work with. I feel like the reporting, and had the opportunity to be down there in Jeff City with you guys. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And since we made this change, I'd say feels like everything has been elevated, and appreciate all you're doing. And let's keep it up while the momentum's good. And thanks again for all your help. It's been a pleasure working with you guys.
Same. Thank you very much, John.
I too want to chime in. You know, frequently, because of all the dissent and chaos in the Senate and the House, I'm asked, you know, do we have a good team? Are we getting results? And I'm able to tell them that not only mayor, city council, our staff, our senators, our representatives, and our lobbyists. And I make a point to let them know that we have a couple lobbyists that are very proactive, that work hard for us, and to get things done. So we're in pretty good shape in our city, that we do have that whole team. I like to call it a team that we have to work on our projects. So thank you guys immensely for that.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you
I
very
do
much.
agree that the team effort with the mayor and all of you coming down, it's so beneficial for them to put the local folks in front of them to talk to them about all of these issues. And I just want to thank you guys for being proactive with coming down and helping us out.
Well,
Here, here.
and do we have any other questions? I do have a question, but I wanted to yield first to the mayor and councilman. Yes, Mayor.
So because you guys have how long you've only been with us a year, right? Is that about right? How
That's
long?
right.
Yeah.
So every year we've gone down and tried to build our relations, and it's really come a long way. It just that they weren't as friendly 5-6 years ago as they are now, and they weren't receptive when we walked in the door. And we just kept walking in every year saying, we just want to be friends. We want to build a relationship. Here's what's going on in Lee Summit. And we used it as our 15 minutes to educate as fast as we could. And then say, and here's where we could use some help going forward. Now I personally, just me, feel that we send a lot of tax dollars to Jeff City, and we're a great return on investment for them. So I appreciate the fact that I feel like they see that, like with this $1.5 million and such. And every year we've gone down with asks. One year we got that $10.5 million for the sewers on the north side of Lee Summit. And that was a joint effort with Searpoy and Engel. And then this 1.5 is Patterson and Searpoy again. And so I just want to make sure that you guys know that we have pitched them the last couple of years, talked to them about 470 highway going north, and the fact that it is a cluster. It is a bottleneck. It's just hard to express how bad it's going to get over the next 5 years with the development. And we took a map and we showed them everything that's going on. We went to Jeff City, or not, Washington, D.C., and did the same thing. We showed them why with everything going on with the SLR now, it's called the church property SLR, with Discovery Park, with the airport expansion, with St. Luke's East expansion. I mean, there's just so much going on. And when you go north on 470 and 291 at 4 o'clock, you're at a standstill. And even when you're coming south on 470 trying to get onto 291, it's not quite as bad, but you're 5 miles an hour as everybody's trying to transition. And so that is something I feel like we made a little bit of progress this year because it was the second time we've talked to them about it. But I think it's important that it's the priority going forward because it's a huge, huge ask, and we need MoDOT to prioritize this, and we need to keep educating our representatives and senators as to how important this is, because when I say it's a huge ask just to widen the roads, because everything going to the west of about View High is 4 lanes, or 6 lanes basically. Everything on 70 will eventually be 6 lanes, and then we've got this strip from Lee Summit all the way up to 70 on 470 that is basically 4 lanes. It's 2 lanes on each side, and it bottlenecks there whenever you try to leave Lee Summit on 291. And if it's bad now, and then we're going to add all these residents and all this commercial and all this activity, I'm telling you, it's going to be a huge problem. So I just want, I'm only going to be here a couple more years. Councilmember DeMora will be here 4. Councilmember Lovell's got 2, and then maybe more. But we just need to make sure that this story keeps getting told. We've got really nice graphics at this point that we can give you. And we try to keep it simple and not overwhelm them. Because like I said, we only have 15 to 20 minutes to make our case. But if you guys could help us with that, that would be huge.
Yep. Zach, do you want to mention our discussions with?
It's going to take federal and state, but you heard in one of those meetings this year, you heard them say, I don't remember if it was Patterson saying, get with MoDOT right away, or if it was Searport, but I just felt like this year we were truly listened to on that. Sorry, John, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
I was gonna.
So go ahead, John.
No, I was I was trying to very deftly hand it over to you. So go ahead.
Well, I mean, as soon as that conversation happened, we did get with MoDOT and presented them with all of the literature that you guys had put together, and had followed up with that, and how we need to get. And Brian, I think we had this conversation about getting embedded with Mark,
yeah.
And because their project lists come from those regional planning councils, and I mean, it's the same with any economic development thing in the state going through the RPCs. But I mean, we have made headway there, and MoDOT is fully aware of it, and we met with their district engineer. I'm trying to remind Ryan on your guys' staff.
Yep, Ryan Elam. Yep.
Right. We initially met with their district engineer to talk about these things, and then the head engineer for MoDOT came over to the Capitol with Jay Wunderlich, and we sat down and discussed this project specifically. And that's when they informed us about getting involved with Mark, because they're the ones that bring the projects to them. And that's how we would get higher on the priority level.
So with regard to that, our staff works really well with Mark. They have always told me to kind of stay out of the way. Let them follow the process. Let them like, in other words, they feel like we get our fair share at those MARC meetings. And that we are typically, because we're organized and we can show the needs that we have, that we are typically, that those meetings go well. Everybody works well and coincide and coexist together, all these different cities and municipalities, when they're divvying up these funds from, and with regard to their MARC's recommendations. It's just that this is a really big one. This is a really big ask. And this is changed so fast. So this hasn't been really on the radar in the past, but that's because we didn't have all this church land that's coming on the market. There's 1,100 acres. We didn't have Discovery. Discovery Park just came out of nowhere and then has just gone full speed ahead. Have they not, council members? I mean,
absolutely.
Park is just, and then St. Luke's East. I mean, it just seems like it's just one of those situations where staff, when they go to these meetings, they make their case, but I feel like we need to really be pushing on our end. And I haven't really done that. I've always stayed out of staff's way and let them, does this make sense, Brian? I stay out of their way. But then when somebody asks, we council members and we go to Jeff City, we do whatever it takes. But in this situation, I feel like we have to be, council members and mayor, we have to really push our staff to find a way to get this, into the conversations at MARC. And usually these conversations are about a $5 million or a $10 million road, like Colburn or like, Pryor or something. This one's, a couple $100 million. So we just need guidance is what I'm saying. I don't know I know it's going to take some type of partnership, and I don't know that MARC talks about partnerships with federal level. Does that make sense? I mean, we'll cost share, and that's how we get some of the MARC money. Is we'll pay. We're going to take the MoDOT money that MARC recommends and how it be allocated, but we are going to we're going to share cost share and split it, and that's how we get some of these $10 million allocations. But we can't do $100 million on a MoDOT road. You know what I mean? We can't take more than that. So I don't know. We've pulled off some pretty cool things like the highway patrol over the years and things of that nature. There's joint operations, and I think it's going to take something like that, and I think it's going to take years to get done. And we just got to start somewhere, and I think we've started it. Just we need to keep pushing it, and if you guys could communicate with Ryan Elam and Michael Park and find out how is this going at MARC, are you getting any traction at all, or are they just saying that's too big? You're going to have to talk to MoDOT directly,
Which I will continue to do so. And
well, and just to piggyback on that, this is a major interstate. It's just not, we're not talking about Lee Summit. We're talking about Lee Summit in specific, of course, but the entire region, the entire traffic flow from I-70 to I-435 and points west. I mean, then you connect with I-35. We are the first bypass in the Kansas City region. And we, not only Lee Summit traffic, and as the mayor said, we've got $1 billion project just around, where the road bends and goes directly west. We've got the church property. All that is coming up. St. Luke's East is talking about expanding too, and that only brings more people to St. Luke's East, not only employees, but patients and healthcare workers. It is major, and to have it at 4 lanes when everything else before it and after it it's 50 highway, it goes to 6 lanes. It's a major bottleneck, and it's not going to get better. It's, you know, and the other thing I will add is, you know, if anybody says, well, why isn't Lee Summit doing something? We are. One of the other major north-south city streets that we have, we're actually widening that to 4 lanes. And that's going to help a little bit, not very much, because that's, you know, that's in the future too. And but we are doing something on our own. But this is a big project. This is something that needed to be done 5 years ago.
And I'll just add, can I add one more thing here? Councilmember, well, actually it'd be for Councilmember and for our lobbyists here. Last year when we talked about expanding that road, but this year I had a change of approach on that. I just feel like you can expand that road, but if you don't fix that interchange where you get on from 291 to 470, like it's still going to be a bottleneck. If that makes sense? Like something has to change at Colburn and 470 and 291. And I think that might be the first step. And then we're talking about an expansion, you know, 5 years later on the roads, because if we can't transition, if that whole thing is a mess, you still have a bottleneck. It reminds me of 435, the old triangle. Remember that? It was just, it was a mess there. And I think we could phase it if we focused on the interchange, the transition point first. But I don't know it'll be any less expensive. It's okay. Sorry, I'm done with all that.
That's good. That's all good conversation. All good. Yeah. So, but yes, it's major. It's a major interstate that goes, you know, all the way, the first bypass off of I-70 that connects 435 and I-35 and roads west. The other question that I had, and I'm just hearing rumblings of this, and I just wondered if you guys have. I know there's been no official action, but we have there's a big news story here in the Kansas City area that the state of Kansas is going to they are going to go into close to special session. The legislature is, and their main topic, the reason for going into special session is to try to organize and to get the Chiefs and the Royals, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals, to move to the state of Kansas using their star bonds procedures. And I just wondered, I heard the other day that there may be some Missouri legislators that are going to try to do the same thing, have a special session and talk about the Royals and Chiefs. Have you guys heard anything about that? I mean, it would take the governor, I realize, to do that, but
I haven't heard anything beyond the same sort of news reports that you've just described.
Okay. Well,
yeah, I've heard certain legislators talk about doing that same thing. But yes, I mean, Kansas is definitely trying to put together a package to bring them over. I mean, the guy that has the Chiefs tattoo on his forearm,
You're talking about the governor.
Yes. Sorry. Did you know that he had a Chiefs tattoo on his with 57 in it?
On his arm.
And I have not heard anything out of the official side of the office, Nick Parsons or budget office. The only thing I've heard about a special session is to do a supplemental bill because of how much was cut out of the budget and how some departments are going to possibly run out of money before the end of next fiscal year. That's just rumors, though. I mean, nothing's been publicly said about it. But I could see them throwing something on there as well to do a Chiefs Royals stay in Missouri package,
Yeah.
especially after the tax vote that didn't pass.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have the both. Well, I don't know if both of them. I think it's the Chiefs have 7 years left on their commitment to Jackson County, but of course that could be, you know, money talks. They could flash several $1,000,000 and maybe get out of that. I don't know, but 7 years is a long time. A lot of things can happen in 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, Senator Rizzo was appointed to the Jackson County Sports Authority, I think, with all of this in mind.
Okay.
I've heard that was one of the big reasons.
Yeah. Well, any other questions? Any other comments? Yes, Mayor.
So can you just in layman's terms tell us what the status is on allocations from the state with regard to the money that it seems like they're still sitting on from years past, infrastructure? Have they spent all the ARPA? I'm guessing that by now they should have way spent. But
I know all the ARPA dollars have been allocated at one time or another.
Yeah.
And now it depends on who you talk to, because some say there's another billion floating around there. Some say there's no money left over. I mean, and I can't get a straight answer out of anybody.
well, they said it was allocated 3 years ago, and it
Yeah.
wasn't. But what about what do you know with regard to the current budget? Because it just seems like they're carrying a lot of cash. Is that fair to say?
I think that yes, I think that is fair to say. I think that there is wiggle room there. I mean, the House, the budget was $2 billion under. Is that the right number, John? 2 billion under what the governor proposed?
Yeah, I think
So
wasn't the
he's
original
thinking
53
there's $2
billion
billion
and it came out 50. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, so I was just there. It was the governor wouldn't propose it if he didn't believe it was there.
Okay.
And you just had the House who pretty much dictated the budget this year, cut it $2 billion. So I think, yes, there is some money out there.
Okay. Well, just
Yeah, but
over
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, over the course of time, if you have thoughts on, you know, how we approach things. I mean, I was talking about the highways, but there's always other small things that we're just trying to figure out. We think that what we can bring to the table are property tax dollars, sales tax dollars. It's just a lot of things that benefit the state. And we're usually, you know, in a position right now, we are in a position to cost share things and or contribute, you know, significantly. And then, you know, I know there's grants and such, but they're not putting those dollars into grants. So if there's another way to make these asks, just, you know, keep us in the loop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And I think next year would be a good year to give it a real hard try.
Yeah. That would be great. That would be great, yeah. Anything else, guys? Any other questions, comments? Brian, do you have anything?
I am working on a letter to the governor. The mayor and I talked about this last week. I have not sent that yet. I'm going to actually send it through Zach and John. But there were two bills that were passed: House Bill 2057 and then Senate Bill 872. that related to video service providers. There's a big lawsuit ongoing right now over on the St. Louis side that is attempting to make the streamers, so we're talking about Netflix and Hulu and whoever, pay the kinds of fees that cable companies have always paid for use of right-of-way. And the theory is the lawsuit's looking pretty good for cities. And the streamers, video service providers, as they're called, were able to get language in 2 bills that essentially would allow them to go forward without paying those fees. So I'm putting together a letter now that would be asking the governor to veto those 2 bills. I haven't finished. I worked on it in pieces and just haven't quite gotten there yet, but I'm hoping to finish that up this week for the mayor's signature. But that's going to be going out hopefully fairly shortly.
Okay, thank you. That's sort of I should have said, well, let's go into roundtable, but that's sort of a roundtable. So I will say it. Does anybody have anything for roundtable? Councilmember Lovell.
I don't.
Oh, okay. I thought you raised your hand. Mayor, roundtable. Okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for providing an update and taking into account our situation on I-470. Appreciate that. And we hope for, like I said, we're working hard on our end, meeting with not only state but federal legislators, and I think we're doing as much as we can, but we're always ready to do something else. So, Mayor, did you have any last comment?
Terrific.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, then I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, guys.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, Brian.
Before we adjourn, we need to talk about next meeting.
Okay.
Your next meeting, I think, is normally July the 8th. However, typically LARC takes off July. We are going to have the lobbyists at our July 23rd City Council meeting. They're going to be physically present, and by then we will know what happened with the budget, and we will know what happened with all of the other items and whether they've been signed or not. So the question is, do you all want to not have this meeting in July, and then we'll just use the city council meeting on the 23rd for your update, and then we will start back up in August, and we'll start working on our legislative priorities for the next session.
That would work for me if the mayor and Councilmember Lovell are in agreement.
And that would be August 12th.
That would be August 12th. Yeah. So we will just, unless something just is so important that we have to discuss, we will then call for the next meeting on August 12th. All right. Well, thank you, Brian.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I will adjourn this meeting now.
Thank you.
Thank you all.